Hi, we're sisters Brenda and Elaine.
Welcome to the Body Wealth Podcast, a space for conversations about the wealth that really matters.
Your best health. Today, Elaine and I speak to Lanita Patton, who has a passion for dance.
And she's used this passion to support both her physical and mental health over the years. We're so excited to have Lanita Patton with us today. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm excited to be here. Very nice to be on the podcast. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. Would you take a couple of seconds to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes, my name's Lanita Patton. I'm a recent Harvard MBA. Professionally, I have a background in management consulting. More recently, I've been doing brand management and operations consulting for consumer startups. And personally, I'm a big advocate of dance and health and wellness and beauty and empowering underrepresented communities.
Well, that's actually what we want to talk to you about. I know dance has been a part of your life for a long time, almost your entire life. Can you tell us when you started in dance?
Yeah, dance, it truly molded me into the woman I am today. And I started dancing when I was 5 years old. So my mom put me in a studio that specialized in all types of genres of dance, ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop, even acrobatics when I was 5 years old. So got a very well-rounded experience.
And you stuck with it?
Yeah, I stuck with it. I danced throughout elementary school. I danced at my high school and then also with an ensemble outside of my high school. And then when I went to college, I attended the University of Florida. I was on the University of Florida Dazzler dance team. I got a chance to dance at the different sporting events, basketball, football, gymnastics, baseball. So it was a really cool collegiate experience.
Now, did you love it from the beginning, or how did your love of dance develop?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I grew up with my mom. She primarily raised me. And so you try to figure out ways to keep the children active and just busy. And so for me, dance, I think that's initially why my mom put me in dance. But then I just really grew to love it. And I think I was fortunate to find my passion at a very young age, and that is dance. Like, I just remember the feeling that I had. I often was one of the few little girls of color in the classes, but I felt such an empowering environment. I felt so much body positivity when I was growing up in dance. It really showed me how to show up confidently in the world and to just take up space. And for a woman of color, that's a super important message to receive, especially at such a young age. And so, yeah, I mean, the way I felt when I danced, I just felt unstoppable. And I still feel like that today. Euphoria and that just feeling of so much confidence and so much comfort and just a love and a passion for the art.
So we've had on the podcast another woman who did gymnastics as a child, and she didn't really come away with that body positivity sense that you described. So was there something special about the dance environment that your mom put you early years that allowed you to come away with those feelings?
Yeah, I will say I don't think that body positivity term is necessarily synonymous with these types of environments like the dance, the gymnastics, especially depending on the genres that you're in. But I was fortunate to be in a studio that had a lot of different body types, which again, as a child, I didn't realize the way that it was impacting me and the way that I was internalizing it. But as I watched the older girls, and there was just so many different body types, but that didn't limit their abilities. I just found that amazing. And I found a lot of the women in the studio that I looked up to maybe didn't look at like me as far as my cultural background and my ethnicity, but like they were curvier women and they were still doing those triple pirouettes, the grand jetés, and just like really having such strong stage presence.
I do think that's unique. My daughter Kendall danced as well a lot growing up and didn't have that experience as much because there's a typical or expected body type within dance. And it's not usually the curvier women that are part of our culture, I'll say more generally.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful that you were able to find that studio early on. So you had a lot of positive benefits from participating in dance. Were there any struggles that were associated with that for you at all?
Yeah, I definitely think there were. It more so to me felt like it was on the socioeconomic side. So you definitely could tell even in the studio, like when it comes to being able to do have like one-on-one practices and solos and duets and trios. Those types of experiences and sessions cost even more money or are even more expensive than just doing the group sessions. And so I definitely felt the disparity there at times when I maybe really wanted to have a solo, but just couldn't afford it. And so I wasn't able to have those different sessions and that extra training. Again, as a child, you're thinking, oh, is it me? Is it my ability? And is it because that I'm not as good of a dancer as these children? I remember thinking that, like, am I not getting these solos and these opportunities because I'm not as great technically as them? But then when we would go into the group sessions and there would be like a specific breakout where there was a solo within a group dance, and I was able to get that solo, I started to think, okay, it's not that. So as a child, I kind of struggled with understanding the role and the impact that your socioeconomic status in these environments can play in the access and the privilege that you have.
I didn't
Yeah.
even realize that you would have to pay for extra sessions to get a solo in a dance group. How expensive is it? Was it a challenge for your mom just in general?
Well, again, like I was so young, so the concept of, but I do remember it being very expensive. Like we're talking like easily your parent is probably spending thousands of dollars a year on dance
Wow.
because you have the recurring classes and the practices that you're paying for. The good thing about my studio is that they had some type of like work study program. We couldn't afford for me to be able to do that without having some type of scholarship involved. And so I used to teach classes. So I would teach like
Mm.
baby ballet and I would teach
Oh.
over the summer. So I would help offset those costs by being very involved in the studio and trying to take like a leadership position. So as I mentioned, you have the sessions, but then you also have all of the costumes that come with that. You also have all of the shoes, the tap shoes, the ballet shoes, the point shoes, the hip hop shoes, and you typically need to buy multiple pairs of shoes because when you're dancing that often, that intensely, you wear them out quickly.
Mm.
And then the other piece of it is the competitions. So once you start getting into competing, that's a whole other financial expense that you have to take into account and be responsible for. So there's a lot that goes into it
Yeah.
in order to be able to fund the experience.
Wow. That
And
is
did you
so.
take anything away additional from being in competitions rather than just being a performer?
You know, competitions were always great because in the dance world, you're very focused on your studio, the talent that's in your studio, in your space. Like when you're in your professional environment, you're at your company, you're trying to climb the corporate ladder. And you're worried about that environment and the talent that is in that space. But then when you're able to go to a career fair, for the job example, or go to a competition, dance competition, that's when you're able to see, oh, this is what the entire landscape looks like. And you get to see certain studios are really strong in certain things. Like certain studios are known for having extremely flexible dancers. Others are known for having turners. They can do like 8, 9, 10 turns and
Mhm.
just not one person, like an entire ensemble at the same time. So I think it was really cool for me to see the different strengths and the different styles of dance and the different performances. So I always just wanted to see, okay, who do I think is the best in this category? What can I take away from them? Like, what do they do really well that sets them apart? How can I learn from them? Because I thought they were great.
So, did you ever think about pursuing dance as a career?
Um, at one point I did. At one point, I did think about pursuing dance as a career. My ultimate dream and goal would be to dance with Beyoncé. She is like my favorite entertainer. I just respect her craft and her just artistry so much. But for me, I had to think about just like life and reality. And the reality is, I was raised by a single mom. I grew up with humble beginnings. And so for me, financial stability early on was very important. And so while I love dancing and I danced in college and brought that passion with me as much as I could, when it came to graduation and it was time to find a full time job, I decided to look more corporate and not pursue dance as a full-time career. Now, I did continue to dance recreationally after college. And so I took community classes. So I would do those, and different instructors would have their specific pop-up classes. So I would do those in Atlanta. But as far as pursuing it professionally, never did. Never say never. I don't think it's
Right.
too late. If there's anything we've learned from these amazing artists and creatives over the last like 10 years with their career starting in their 30s, for example, that, even with really great entrepreneurs, you don't have to do everything in your 20s. And so, who knows? There is a physical component to it, though. I won't say never. I won't say it will never happen.
Well, you
So
talked
there's
a lot about some of the benefits you felt emotionally and what you got from dance. And I'm sure, I mean, obviously there are some physical benefits, but could you tell us a little bit about what you feel like dance has done for you, for your health, your physical and your mental health for that?
Yeah. I think dance is really great for teaching you how to take care of your body and just the importance of doing that. Very similar with athletes. It's like how you treat your body is how it will perform for you. And so early on in dance, I learned the importance of fueling my body and putting the appropriate things in so that I could dance. So, how do you keep up that endurance? What type of protein are you putting in your body? Are you hydrating um, to avoid like muscle cramps? Like, what are you doing to ensure that your body feels nourished? And so, I definitely think from a nutrition perspective, I wasn't counting calories. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just being very conscious of the types of things I was putting in my body to be able to allow me to like last throughout the different classes that I was doing. I think mentally, it's funny because, mental health has just become such a big topic of conversation. And I've always been a very happy child. I'm still a very happy and optimistic person now. But at the same time, I do think that as an adult, the times when I have not been able to dance as frequently, and I've gone long stints without being able to really use that outlet, I definitely feel like I felt more stressed. I maybe have felt more anxiety. I have been more overwhelmed. Like a lot of people use exercise as a form of therapy or just as a form as like a stress relief. I definitely think dance has always been that for me, but it's taken me getting into the real world and really experiencing the stressors of life to realize the magnitude of the impact that dance played on me growing up and even as an adult.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a bit about some of the periods where you weren't able to dance as much, and why were you not able to dance, and what was different?
I started a women's empowerment dance company in Atlanta. And so that became a big outlet for me, being able to do that. And so when COVID hit, that slowed down. I wasn't dancing as much. And then I got to business school, and that entire experience was amazing. But I definitely put dance on the back burner during that because there were so many other experiences to take advantage of in that short 2-year time frame. So between that and then graduating and injuring my knee where I really couldn't dance. So I would say maybe that 2.5 or 2 years and like 6 months of not being super active in the dance world definitely was the most recent time in my life where it's kind of been removed from me. And you take things for granted, and then when it's gone, you're like, "Oh wow, this is what it feels like to have a piece of you that's missing." It was hard. I definitely try to lean more into just exercise in general, and it's not the same. It's really hard to replace a creative passion. I'm trying to work more actively to get back into it now, but yeah, I would definitely say the last 2.5 years, I've been a little bit more distant from the passion.
You're in a place where things are changing again and it's exciting, but how do you see incorporating dance into your future?
I've more recently started taking ballet classes again. And I'm actually taking ballet classes from the woman who used to teach me when I was like in elementary school. And she was always such a positive influence in my life. She has her corporate job, but she has never let dance go. And that is something that I really admire. And so I have been taking ballet classes. I also think it's been really great for my recovery, my knee recovery. So I did have surgery maybe like 6 or 7 months ago now. And so I think ballet with that controlled movement and that really working on your strength has been a really great experience.
Did you injure your knee while dancing?
No, the fun fact, I have actually never injured myself while dancing. It's just been doing
Oh,
other
wow.
things in life. During that 2-year stint when I wasn't dancing, while I wasn't dancing, I also was not paying attention as much to my body as I should have. And so it really came from over exercising, doing boot camps, doing heavier weightlifting, and not properly warming up and stretching afterwards, as well as stretching before. And so it kind of was something that kind of built up over time. And then finally, my knee gave out and my meniscus tore, and that was really it.
Oh,
So
wow.
learned my lesson quickly on that one.
So you
Definitely.
mentioned your women's empowerment dance program that you started. So it
Yeah.
seems like you did enjoy also sharing dance with other people. So can you tell us a little bit about what that was and how that added to your love of dance?
Yeah. So I had a women's empowerment dance company called First Impressions, and I started it when I was living in Atlanta. It was really important for me to find a way to continue to empower women and girls through movement, and also just continuing to promote health and wellness. I also would just rent out studio space and just host classes on my own because I wanted to be able to empower my immediate community. So, like my friends, my network, my colleagues, but then also the greater Atlanta community. I would just promote via Eventbrite as well as social media and just, bring in different groups. I did a couple birthday parties, bachelorettes, different individuals would come into my class. And I would say that my demographics of my groups ranged anywhere from 12 years old to 55. It was such a
Mhm.
broad range. And so that
Mhm.
was really cool. I had 3 E's for it. So it was exude confidence unapologetically, embrace your individuality, and empower each other. And so those were the principles that really led the class. And I think it showed up in every session. And I enjoyed getting to know the women and the girls that took the class. And it really just honestly left me feeling empowered as well. So I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do that.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you did it too. And I just think when you think about something like a bachelorette party, right? How much healthier it is to have it be a dance party as opposed to sitting around a bar and doing
Yeah,
shots.
I'm sure they did that too, though. But it's a
Balance,
nice balance.
balance
It's a
is
nice
good,
balance.
right?
Balance, right?
Definitely. Because, I will say another reason is really about like identifying what makes you confident and what makes you feel good in your skin. Things feel different to different people, as well as like all of our body types are different. And so it's just about embracing the body that you're in, appreciating your vessel, and just like moving through the world with what you have and being super confident and taking up space in the body that you own.
That's what we want for everyone.
Yeah.
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 So now that you're not dancing quite as much, what is it that you do to keep yourself physically and mentally healthy and feel good?
Yeah. Yes, I do think it's very important to continue to evolve your practices. I didn't mention, but dance also introduced me to yoga very early on because it's a complementary practice. Now, of course, when I was younger, the mindfulness and the mental health side of yoga, that wasn't as pertinent to me. It was more so the benefits of like the flexibility and the stability that was why it was brought into our dance practice. But as an adult and now I do practice yoga. I really like hot yoga. I think it's really great for me to be able to again warm up and get my muscles very malleable before getting into the practice. I also think that it's something about the really hot environment that allows me to really tune out the world for that 1 hour or 90 minutes and turn up the noise within my body and turn down the noise in the outside world, so to speak. And so just taking that time has been really great. I also have started doing reformer Pilates. I think it's a super, super great way to strengthen and lengthen your muscles without overexerting too much. And so that's a practice that I've picked up that I really love. And the last thing I'll say on that is that, I think it's important for people of color to be involved in these practices because I go in the classes often, and like the representation is lower than I would like it to be. So I like being able to go in and just like enjoy my practice and make sure that, I'm showing up confidently in all of these spaces.
I took my first reformer class, a couple of months ago with Kendall at a new Black-owned Pilates studio that opened here in Durham, and,
Really? How was
it
it?
was fun, it was challenging.
Right, in a
But
different way, right? It's like
yeah,
the little muscle groups that you don't think about. And it's important too as we get older, like that mobility factor and those small muscle groups. That's another reason why I'm really leaning into the reformer Pilates and the yoga, because after this knee injury and the surgery, like mobility is very important to me. And I'm just realizing, like, lifting those heavy weights are great, like you're getting stronger, but it's also important to like dial it back and just think about longevity, what types of exercises and practice can really help you as you evolve in your life and in your like wellness journey.
So what's something that the Pilates has done for your body that maybe you didn't get through dance?
So for dance, again, maybe because of the environment I grew up in, there was never a moment where I felt like I couldn't do something. There was never a move I felt like I couldn't do, quite honestly. It was more so of a, okay, I haven't learned the mechanics quite yet of how to execute this move, but once I get it, I'm going to nail it and I'm always going to be able to do it. Um, with reformer Pilates, it's much more mental because it's like the movements aren't really that complex at all. It's more so of like the speed in which you do it and the pace, and everything's so slow. So there's constant tension on the muscles. And it's really a mind game with yourself of like, the instructor's telling you, come on, 15 more seconds. And that 15 seconds feels like 90 seconds. So it's more of just like a mental, I think, challenge that you're grappling with. Can I push to hold 3 seconds longer than I did last class? And so like it's like you're working your way up inch by inch. So it's different. It's different.
for me at least, variety is good. So you wanna change it up, you get a little bored with doing the same thing, and also what you have access to at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I also will say like, I mean, let's be honest, reformer Pilates is expensive. It
I
is
was
very
just gonna
expensive.
ask. Yeah,
The
yeah.
barrier to entry is much higher, which is also one of the many reasons why it's not as diverse of a practice. Like dance, I remember I could pay $10, $15 to take a class. Pilates, the average class is probably around like $30.
Oh, yeah.
And so I definitely think that is a strong difference as well.
So is dance more cardio and Pilates more muscular, or they're both?
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely think dance definitely feels much more cardio. You'll do like a month of classes and then you will wake up and just you'll look in the mirror and be like, "Wow, I've slimmed down. Like this is great. Like wonderful." That's not really the goal. Dance has not been about, yes, there's dance fitness, right? I don't lean into dance fitness as much as I do like the creative classes where I'm going in, there's a choreographer, they're teaching a
Mhm.
piece and I'm dancing to it and really creatively expressing myself. So that is the type of dance that I lean into. I think both forms are great. And I think whatever type of practice you need to do that speaks to you and makes you want to be active and be moving. So 100% on the cardio piece. The reformer Pilates piece, you're still going to be breathing heavy, but it's more so from muscle fatigue, from all of that like tension that you're holding as you're doing the moves versus getting up and down on the reformer.
So moving is important for all of us, and I think, we all have to find where we feel like it fits in our lives and lots of different ways to do it.
Mhm.
What would you tell a parent looking for a studio for their young daughter?
I was very appreciative that the studio that my mother put me in had a variety of types of dance categories that I could try and dance genres. And so I thought that was important because I could choose what I was most passionate about within the practice, whether it was ballet, tap, jazz, hip hop. I think it also just made me have a well rounded appreciation for the art as a whole. I would say, like, variety is nice, especially when they're younger. Also, when they're younger, they have a lot of energy. So ballet sometimes it's very hard for children. Tap tends to be a lot of fun because they can make noise in the tap shoes and run around. So I think variety is great. I think another thing is just think about the type of messaging that you want your child to have when they're in the space. I can't emphasize enough how important seeing those different women, not just the students, but the teachers also had a variety of body types, like truly across the spectrum. And so that representation for me, although how undertoned it was super important. And so if that is something that is important to you and that is something you want your child to see, I would just, check out a class, sit in a class, see who's teaching, see the different children that are in it, see the different levels that, because even if you're the only one in that one class, right? You want to be able to see people at the different levels. Once you're able to see someone who you can relate to and a level that you want to get to, that then becomes more of a reality that you can actually achieve that. Because I was able to see those older girls in high school that had a similar body type to me completely crushing it on the stage, like just so much stage presence and power and technique, that made me feel like I can be like that when I grow up, when I get to their level. And so I think that's super important too.
My daughter used to watch this TV show, Dance Moms, and
Yeah.
it's like reality TV, but the way that those, I don't know what they're called, coaches, uh,
Hmm.
treated the dancers, and the dynamic was horrific. So I guess, is there any red flags for when you're looking at a competition studio? What are the things that you should additionally look out for?
The only way that you would be able to see those red flags is to be able to sit in a class. And so I will say, especially in my studio, they would have like parent watch weeks or just different times that parents could come. I think definitely taking advantage of those parent watch weeks and like actually going and seeing, how does my child behave in class? How does the instructor interact with the children as a whole? How do they interact with my child specifically? I also think if there's an opportunity outside of the, parent child observation weeks to go, because of course those are probably a little more curated for the parents,
Mhm.
just like any type of like scheduled event would be, like being able to go 15 minutes early before the class ends. And normally they'll have a like a window that you can like watch the class, see what's going on, or like decide to stay the first 10 minutes of class and just, oh, I'm going to sit in the corner, just want to make sure they're good. I
Mhm.
think also just talking to the parents could potentially be an option, and just to hear what their experiences have been, especially the parents that have been there a little longer and a part of the group. I'm not a parent, so I don't want to tell parents what to do. But when I look back on how I felt supported and how I felt safe in those spaces, it's because my mom showed up the way that she did.
Nice.
Yeah, super
Definitely.
important.
I'm a grown middle-aged woman, but
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by the idea of a dance class that is more about performing a choreography than just exercise. How would I go about finding a class like that?
In order to find a class like that, it does take a bit of asking around, and I think it takes a bit of searching online. But I would say start out with potentially, honestly, sometimes Eventbrite. Sometimes there's specific events where
Okay.
people will have things, and it starts out as an event and then it turns into like a series, or the person that had the event actually teaches elsewhere. I find, especially since I've been in South Florida, when I go on Eventbrite to look at different events, I did a yoga session, for example, at the Perez Art Museum, and the instructor who
Oh,
taught the yoga session in Miami also has her own like fitness practice, and she teaches other places. And so I think that's a great way to
great
discover.
tip.
There are certain studios that have adult classes, and those adult classes tend to be choreography based as well. I know I attended a few of them when I was in Atlanta, but searching specifically for adult dance classes and not like adult dance fitness, I think will be the difference. Find some in your
Okay,
area.
yeah. I'm reminded, Elaine, that I was a
Yeah.
dancer in all the musicals in high school,
Yes, she
so
was. She was definitely
Yeah.
musical theater girl.
yeah, have my
Yeah,
little
I
tap
feel like it's never
shoes.
too late. And remember I said, so the ballet classes that I'm currently taking, the oldest person in the class, I wanna say she's like 70.
Yay. I
Oh, me
won't be the
too.
oldest person there.
Yeah, I
Like,
know a lot of older
I need
people who
credit
dance, and I think
for
it must help keep you young. And I wanted to go back to something
yeah.
else you said earlier about you learning early on, how to fuel your body and, what you should eat to keep able to do the things you wanted to do in dance. So, did that sort of continue in your life even when you weren't dancing?
Yeah, it did. It did. I definitely think, of course, when you're younger, your metabolism is better. So, like, yeah, you may have more things that you flex on. But I think the difference is I've always known what I should be eating and what I should be doing
Good.
and different things that actually are good for me. And so I've always known the difference.
Right.
Sometimes I just choose to
Yeah.
not do it. And also just I'm trying to simplify everything. Like there's just so many options, there's so much opportunity, there's so much discovery on these different platforms where you can learn about different things that are going on, or not that are going on, but different things that you can consume and different recipes. And so, but I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible right now. So I just go back to the normals like the avocados, the almonds, the walnuts, like um I don't do any special diets like the vegan. I'm not vegan, I'm not pescatarian. And just doing things and eating things in moderation, I think has been super important as well. Cause I just can't, I love my desserts, right? But there's a moderation to it. There's also like a dark chocolate instead of like regular milk chocolate. So like doing those different alternatives, leaning more into fruit, also, the veggies. So
Mhm.
I think it's just about eating what you know you should be eating. I haven't been thinking too much about it. I've been thinking about what I should be putting in my body and not what I shouldn't be. So I'm not like overly depriving myself,
Oh,
but I
that's a
try
good
to.
angle. Focus
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
positive, eating this
Yeah,
versus what am I depriving myself of? Oh, that I like
yeah.
that.
Because I've never been a person who doesn't like eating vegetables or doesn't like all of the things that they say now you definitely should be eating. Like I've always been eating that and was a part of the conversations we had growing up in the like dance world of like different types of nutrition. It's just a matter of getting back to it now and reminding myself that, oh, I do like these things and they did work for me then. So let me attempt to incorporate them into my regimen going forward, really.
Very good.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like a good salad. It's like I really
Yeah,
actually enjoy a good salad, so why not eat it more?
exactly. Like I've
Um,
never, and I dress it up. I love toppings and like food texture. So I'm the one that's putting like, we're doing the salad, but then we throw in the cranberries in and then the walnuts and then the
yeah.
carrots and then the avocado, maybe some black beans, some beets.
Yeah,
All
that
good
sounds
stuff, all good
delicious.
when you're doing the healthy things, when you're moving, it all goes together. When I get off track on one of those things, then I kind of fall off the wagon on all of them, and I might go through a little period where I'm not exercising and I'm not eating well, but it's funny how they kind of go hand in hand for me, doing the good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. They really do. And it's almost like habits, right? It's like I'm reading or I'm listening to this book on the power of habits, and it's like the minute you break that habit, things start to snowball, and then you're like, okay, well then I can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Next thing you know, it's been a week, and your
Mhm.
habits are no longer your habits.
Right.
And so I think that's a big thing. It's also like not. I don't necessarily like the idea of like when I'm eating a salad, this is a healthy food. Can I just like eat the salad because I like salads and it's a part of my like consumption regimen? Like,
It's
why
how
do
I
I have to,
eat. It's how I eat, yeah.
yeah, it's just like, and I think sometimes that could be the barrier to it's like, you should eat this, you have to eat this because if I take that label off it mentally when I'm consuming, I just want to be able to enjoy like what I'm eating. And it just happens to be something that we deem as healthy.
Yep, that's a good way to look at it. Who or what inspires you to work towards your best health?
Oh, honestly, future self, my future family, and my like my current family. Like, I
Mhm.
want to make sure that I'm around for my mom. And I also, as I think about building a family, like I want to make sure that um, I am healthy enough to be able to run around with my kids and play with them and just see them go through the many milestones of life. And just so I think it's a that's a big part of it. It's just like longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What are you going to do for your health tomorrow?
Mm. Something that we haven't talked about that is a big part of health is also sleep. I am trying very hard to get my sleep regimen in order. I'm a night owl, and so tomorrow I'm hoping to go to bed at a decent hour and get enough rest so I wake up feeling rejuvenated and not tired. That is something
Good.
that's a promise I make to myself every day and a habit that I've really been trying to build, and it's a difficult one.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been really fun to talk to you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure. Thank you for having this platform to amplify this message.
Thank you. So great
We
to have
appreciate
you.
that.
Have a wonderful day.
Yes, you too. Take care.
I enjoyed talking to Lanita today. I am so impressed that she found her passion so early in life, and then she remained committed to it, no matter the changes that she went through. She had different circumstances over the years, different resources, but she made sure to make some sort of adjustment to keep dance as part of her life.
And it's great because dance gave her a way to move her body, which allowed her to stay physically fit. She also felt that it made her move more confidently through the world. And then thirdly, she realized that it helped relieve stress and that she felt less stressed when she was dancing regularly.
Yes, it would be great if we could all find a passion that gave us so many positive benefits. Thanks for listening. We hope this episode inspires you to increase your body wealth. If you like our show, please subscribe and tell a friend. For resources related to this topic, please see the show notes. And be sure to follow us on Instagram at Body Wealth Sisters.
The Body Wealth Podcast shares personal stories to inspire you. It does not constitute medical advice. For that, we encourage you to work with a trusted healthcare provider. We also want to remind you that the views expressed by our guests are their own. This podcast is dedicated to our mother, Jean Fernandez Barbour, who showed us what advocating for yourself really looks like.